Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the Cringe Club, the podcast that celebrates everything cringe. Now, each week I speak to a different hilarious guest about their most embarrassing moments. But don't worry, because what happens in Cringe Club, well, gets broadcast to you lot. This week is a little bit different because I have my very own sister in the club today. So we share a few of our cringy diary entries, tell a few embarrassing stories from our childhoods, and she reveals what actually happened after she was dumped by a zoologist and author, friend of the show, Jules Howard. I hope you enjoy it. Bye. Welcome to a very special episode of Cringe Club. In the club today, we have actor, writer, and founder of award-winning Big Bubble Theatre Company, Laura Clark. You may also know her from playing Nan Helsing from my book, The Beast of Knobbly Bottom, at some of my events and online. But of course, her biggest achievement of all is that she is my sister. Welcome to the club, Laura.
Thank you for having me, big sis.
Now, this week, I thought we would try something a little bit different. Now, some of the inspiration for my new book for tweens, Cringe Club, came from reading my own childhood diaries to my kids. And I know that you kept some diaries too, which I suspect were equally as cringy as mine. So I thought we could have a little bit of a cringe off today, share a few of those entries, as well as some of the cringy moments from our childhood.
Yeah, that sounds good. I've been reading through my diaries, and I can safely say, as soon as this episode is finished of your podcast, I will be burning every single diary from my past.
How did it feel delving back into those diaries?
There was a mix of emotions. It was quite nice to remember, reminisce about things we used to get up to back in the day, back in the 90s, where we didn't have phones and we just wrote everything down. And it's, it ain't pretty. It's quite embarrassing. I'm not going to lie.
The thing is about diaries, you write them for nobody else to see. So they are even cringier because they're not meant to be read,
No.
So they often reveal the cringiest parts of ourselves.
Yeah, and I mean, just the beginning of each entry into my diary is very cringy. It's kind of like, yo, diary, my sweet Romeo. It's like trying to be proper gangster when clearly I wasn't. And, always signed with Laura, Queen of Coolness. I mean, yeah, cringe.
Yeah, no,
fest.
mine is pretty much the same. In fact, I can go one better. I gave my diary a name and I drew a picture of what I imagined he'd look like, which, so I called him
God.
FD, which stood for
Okay.
Fresh Diary. So I'd be like, dear FD, we were very much into the Fresh Prince, MC Hammer, a lot of that kind of rap culture. And we couldn't really pull it off as 12-year-old schoolgirls, but we gave it a good go. So we were obsessed with being cool and things like that, weren't we?
Yeah, we were. And but when you look back, we actually did believe we were very cool. I believed I was extremely cool and the Queen of Coolness at the time. But looking back, and when I've read a couple of entries to my daughter, she was like, yeah, you were not cool, mother, not in the slightest. But at the time, I am sure I was.
I know. Well, this is the thing. We were both really into drama, weren't we? So looking back on the things I did, because we were, as we liked showing off a little bit, doing stuff in front of the class. At the time, I definitely thought I was cool. It's only in hindsight when I look back and I think that really wasn't at all cool. Like at primary school, weren't we? We had our own little drama group called the Famous Five. How did we come up with that? And when I think back to the shows we did, our head teacher would let us perform them in assembly. They were musicals, but the songs were all Chaz and Dave. Like, how? I mean, that is so cringy because our parents always used to listen to Chaz and Dave. But we thought we was really cool doing plays like Aunt Poppercock's Hairy Legs and singing as the opening number, like Snooker Loopy, Nuts Are We or something. But not so cool looking back.
No, not at all. But I feel like our fellow students at the school probably did think we were quite cool.
Yeah, I think we definitely embraced our cringe from a very young age. So I
Yes.
guess there is something pretty cool about that. So shall we have a delve into your diary?
Yes, if we must. Yeah.
These
I've got
ones.
the first entry when I was quite innocent, an innocent young 12-year-old, I like to think. So I'll start with that one if you want.
Go for it.
I'll go for it. So, dear diary, I've just watched Turtles film for the 100th time. Nothing like that ever happens in real life. I think it should. I'm going to see my cousin William in a play at the Windsor next week. It could be his big break. I want to be an actress when I grow up, rich and successful. That's what I want. But of course, with a bit of adventure, like on a science fiction film. Or maybe I'll just be in one. Love, Laura, Queen of Coolness.
That is good. Now, you say you just watched the Turtles again. Nothing like that happens in real life. Like, what were you hoping for?
No.
Some giant, cool turtles, dudes to be
Yeah,
walking along the street? Is that what you meant?
I was hoping for, Michelangelo, my favourite turtle, to come, kick the door down, sweep me off my feet, take me out for a pizza, because I know I did listen to yours and Tamsin's episode where you were both saying your favourite turtle and actually having a bit of a crush on
Yeah,
one of the
yeah.
turtles. And mine was always Michelangelo. So, yeah, I think that's what I was hoping from life. Yeah,
Go for a pizza with Michelangelo. He was like the cool
exactly
party
that.
dude. See,
He
Raphael
was.
was
Yeah.
the turd for me.
Yes.
Because he was like the cool,
He was.
sarcastic one. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I like the
yeah.
Joker. I like the class clown, because I was a bit of a class clown when I was that age. So that's why I related to the turtle Michelangelo very well
Yeah, and you
indeed.
liked pizza. You like
I
pizza,
didn't
so
like pizza. I still
and
do.
you
Yeah.
obviously also say that you wanted to be an actor, so you can tick that box off. But you
Yeah.
haven't been in a science fiction film yet. So what do you
Not
think
yet. Not
12-year-old
yet.
Laura will think about that?
I think she'd be a bit disappointed, actually. I think she'd be like, "What? You're not even in a science fiction movie
I
yet? You weren't
know.
in Back to the Future. What's going on?" Yeah, but never mind. One day, there's still time. There's still
This
time. Maybe a new turtle film. I could be a girl turtle. You never
Yeah,
know.
that would be good actually. What would your name be? Banksy is literally the only artist I can think
I
of that,
That could be
you
my name.
know.
I mean, no one knows if it's a boy or a girl because no one knows who
Exactly.
Banksy is. So yeah, I'll be
Exactly.
Banksy, the turtle.
Yeah. Well, that is pretty cringe. Now, I will read you one of my diary entries. Hadn't long been in year 7. Here goes. Dear FD, school was
Cool.
mega boring as usual. Double design, double boring more like. We learnt about packaging. It's well pointless, man. Why do they think kids need to know this stuff, especially kids who are going to be famous actresses? Also, it was well shameful because when I went to the loo at lunch, there was a massive poo in the toilet. It stank as well. Then I was about to go and use a different cubicle when some girls came in and started chatting. If I went out, they would have thought the poo was mine. I was trapped in there for ages with this big dump of doom. And guess what? It wouldn't even flush down. Total shame. French was a right doss, though. Chris Pryor kept shouting beef whenever the teacher turned his back. It was well funny. Went to Emma's new house for tea last night. Her parents have got an ensuite, which is like an actual whole bathroom, but in their bedroom. It was well cool. Now, I'm not sure why I thought an ensuite was cool, but there you
I
go.
was going to say, I love the fact you thought an ensuite was the coolest thing you'd ever seen. But, back then that was quite
Well,
exotic.
it definitely was, especially in the circles we mixed in, because I remember visiting our Essex family and mum telling people, oh, Emily's got a friend that's got an ensuite. Like, oh, we'd really made it if we got a
Oh.
friend that's got an ensuite. So, yeah, I think it was a big deal. But now, do you know what? I've got an ensuite. So,
Oh, well, I
yeah.
haven't, so I'm a little bit jealous. I feel like I haven't made it because we only have one bathroom in our house. So, I would love an ensuite and to be able to go
Yeah.
to toilet in peace not
Well, if
being
you want,
disturbed.
you can tell all your friends that your sister has got an ensuite. I don't
I
mind.
will. I
Yeah,
will.
don't
I'm going to tell
mind.
everyone. I'm very proud of my sister with her ensuite.
Now, I think they're both probably equally as cringy, and we both must have spoken quite a similar way, which I think, maybe it was a thing back then, or maybe we were just mega dorks who wanted to be the Fresh
Yeah,
Prince.
probably. Yes, absolutely. But yeah, no, and I like the blast from the past with the teacher. Was it Beef? Because that poor teacher did have that nickname, and it probably haunts him still today.
Well, no, he's passed away, sadly.
Oh, oh
R.I.P.
God,
Mr. Selleck Taylor.
oh.
There's a teacher they call Beef in my Cringe Club book. So, his
So you've brought
legacy.
him back to life. You've brought
Yeah,
him back to life.
exactly. His legacy continues.
Yeah.
I just remember everyone shouting Beef whenever he walked anywhere. The poor guy.
Was it beef
Um,
like that?
Beef. Yeah, in
Beef.
that voice
Yeah.
as well.
Beef.
He,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Poor old Beef. I mean, he was quite shouty and strict, but he was our form tutor. So I think you get to know their softer side over the years, don't you? He was always quite nice to me. So,
Yeah.
um,
Big softy, no doubt.
yeah. So yeah, now you, if I remember rightly, were quite obsessed with boys back in the day, weren't you? Because I think we'd gone from this tiny primary school, hadn't we, to secondary
Yeah.
school, and suddenly, and it can happen with a lot of tweens, you're surrounded by boys. I do remember you having quite a lot of crushes, a bit like one of the characters in my book, Liv. She
Yes.
goes from not really being bothered to a crush a day.
Yeah.
So, have you got anything in your diary entries along those lines?
I
Shall I?
mean, I've got a lot of every day. I mean, this is embarrassing. Why are you doing this to me? I mean, what sort of thing do you want to know? I mean, every day I talk about a new boy that I've got a crush on, a new fancy, and then at the end of each diary, I'm like, "P.S. I love X, 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 and X," and then I'll say in order which one I love the most, which one is the fittest, because that's what we used to say a lot back in the 90s.
Yeah,
Oh, he's
fit.
well fit. He's so
Yeah.
fit.
Now, one of the people I know you had a crush on and actually ended up going out with, um, has actually been on this show. It was, of course, from episode 1, author and zoologist, the very funny Jules Howard. So he mentioned how he went out with you back in the day. How old were you? About
He did.
13?
I
And he
think,
dumped you, didn't he?
yeah, he did dump me.
Anyway, he went into the story about it and he blamed me.
He did, which I didn't know this until that episode. Yeah, yeah.
It kind of scared him off because I was trying to get him around to introduce him to the family and all this and that. But you tell me there was a little bit more to that story that he may have missed
Yeah.
out. So can you tell us a bit more about what happened after he dumped you?
Okay. So he dumped me, and I was a little bit upset. I'm not going to lie. I think we'd been going out for about a month and a half. So that was, a world record.
That is a long
When
old
you're,
time
it
in
was a long
that age.
time for that age. Yeah, but literally about 2 weeks later, Julian, as we called him at the time, he asked me back out again. And guess what? I said no.
Wow.
Of course.
I should
Because,
hope so.
I'm not going to say yes after that, am I?
No. He didn't mention this when I spoke to him.
No, well, he wouldn't, would he? He wouldn't.
No.
But I do have it in my diary. So if your listeners want any proof that he did ask me back out again, well, I have got it written in ink in my diary. So I do have proof, Jules Howard. So.
Yeah, because as you say, like a month and a half, that is pretty serious back then.
That was serious stuff.
You don't dump Laura and then ask them back out.
No,
That's for sure.
and at the end of my diary, it was I love Julian Howard, like every day for a month and a half at the bottom of my diary, and then suddenly dumped. In fact, I've got it written here. Yo, diary babes. Julian dumped me today, but I do then say, but I'm not really that bothered. I
Well,
think I was a little bit bothered, obviously, but I made out
yeah.
to my diary I wasn't that bothered.
I imagine you'd moved on to one of your list of, sexy boys.
Though, for a few days after being dumped, because I always would put it at the bottom of my diary, P.S. I love such and such. And actually, for quite a few days, I just put things like P.S. I love no one. That's how annoyed I was.
But, you know, you got your revenge in the end by saying no when he came
I-
crawling back. Um, I have a crush in my diary on someone called Sexy Gaz. Um,
oh, yes.
so this is what I put about my crush in mine. Hello, sweet FD. Guess who came and took the vinegar from our table in the canteen today? Yeah, you guessed it, Sexy Gaz. I mean, he could have had any other vinegar, but he came all the way to the other side of the canteen and used our vinegar. What do you think of that? Reader, I married him. No, I didn't really, but that would make a brilliant story, wouldn't it? Nah, turns out he actually just wanted the vinegar.
And I believe that's in your book, isn't it?
I did use that in my book. One of the girls who's always got crushes live. This happens to her, and she, like me, assumes he doesn't just want to use the vinegar. He has a crush on her. But I think back then it's so intense, isn't it? When you have a crush on someone, you read into every little thing. I remember another person I had a crush on. They gave me a sip of their can of Coke, and I was like, "Oh my God, I practically kissed him."
Oh.
In my diary, I was like, "Oh my God, we actually kissed today." Well, when I say kissed, I mean I drank his can of and I was really fussy about drinking after people as well.
I was going to say, that doesn't
Yeah,
sound
you
like
know what
you.
I'm like? I'm really funny about it, but because I had a crush on
Mm,
him, I thought, well, I'm probably going to end up kissing him. So this is kind of a little warm up. I didn't snog the
yeah.
Coke can like some kind of weirdo. But,
No.
you know, the fact that our shared spit was on there, I
Ugh,
know,
yeah.
gross.
But yeah, but talking of shared saliva, can I just share a
Oh,
little cringe moment I had with author Jules Howard
oh,
when we
okay.
had our 1.5 months relationship. But one really embarrassing moment was when we would go and hang out in a classroom with all of our friends, and we'd sit next to each other. And we wouldn't really talk one on one for the whole time. We'd talk a little bit, but then at the end of break, we'd always end with a token snog goodbye. So anyway, we went out of the classroom when the bell went, and we sort of forgot we needed to do our token snog because we didn't do it in the classroom. So we did our snog. It was always very, very awkward. And a teacher comes up behind me and says, "Get to your lesson," and literally grabbed our heads and pulled them apart. And I remember it being so embarrassing because a big string of
Oh.
saliva basically between our mouths, just linking us together. And there was loads of other children in the corridor, and I was just thinking, I just wanted the ground to swallow me up. This is the cringiest, most embarrassing moment of my life. So yeah, there's a saliva
And
story for
that,
you.
I mean, for a bit of saliva to be there, that was quite a wet kiss. I
It was a
mean,
very wet kiss.
was it your saliva or was it
I
his
think it was a
saliva?
mix. It was a cocktail
You were
of
both
slobber.
very,
I
very
th-
juicy kissers, basically,
yeah,
and
I
it
think
got.
we were. Yeah, I don't want to
Ooh.
just blame Jules because I think for that much saliva, it was
I
it was
mean,
probably both of us. Yeah, yeah,
probably a mixture of both. It
yeah.
is very embarrassing getting caught kissing back in the day. I remember Dad catching me kissing. They'd gone out to the shop, and
Oh,
I had my boyfriend back, and we were in my room kissing, and when they were out, and he came into and he went mad. He's like, "You out!" to
oh
my
no.
boyfriend at the time, and he just got up and ran down the street, I think. But I remember feeling really, really embarrassed about that. So, yeah, I think you still win with the actual teacher catching you.
Yeah,
I think everyone gets embarrassed when they're younger about their parents, don't they? I remember getting very embarrassed by them. for certain things. Do you have anything that stands out that they particularly embarrassed you in any way with?
Um, I remember mum, this is one of my earliest memories of being really
Mm.
embarrassed, and she would always cut our fringes because, they didn't want to take us to the hairdressers and spend money. But one day she didn't have time to cut my fringe before school. So she decided to put my fringe, which was an awful 80s, straight across the forehead fringe, but she decided to put that fringe into a ponytail in the front of my head. So I basically looked like a unicorn. Do you remember that?
I do remember very clearly.
Yeah. And that
Um,
was a clear memory of pure shame and embarrassment. I think at just probably the age of 5, feeling total shame of this unicorn ponytail slapped to my forehead. And my mum was like, "No, keep it up, keep it in, keep it in, keep it in. It will go in your eyes otherwise. Your hair will get in your eyes." I'm like, "But I don't want to look like a unicorn."
I do remember you crying all the way to school,
Yeah,
but I
I
don't I
did.
don't know why mum was obsessed with I think she must have thought it would be dangerous to have fringe slightly in our eyes or something. Did she think we
Yeah.
might trip over? But I do remember that. Cutting our fringes was, I think, one of the ways mum would embarrass us. But with dad, if I was ever a bit late back home, him marching up to the park in his, I think he probably did this to you as well, marching up to the park in his slippers, and telling
Mm,
me to get in the car because I was late home. And it was always seemed to be when we'd met some boys we were talking to, he'd be like, "Oi, you're
yeah.
late," in the car, in his slippers.
Home. Yeah.
Is there any
Yeah.
other early memories of feeling that utter embarrassment?
Oh, yeah. There's one that was really embarrassing. We went camping.
Because we had a VW camper van, didn't we?
Yeah, we had a VW camper van that I was also very embarrassed of as I became a teenager. When Dad picked us up in it, I used to be really
Same.
like, "Cringe! No, don't pick me
Oh,
up in
it
that."
was so loud
Oh,
as well, and he'd pull up
so
outside our
loud.
friends' houses, friends that had en suites, might I add,
Yeah,
in
in
his big
our
van.
yeah. Yet now they're very trendy. So,
I know.
how. But anyway, we were in the camper van and we had to use obviously the shared facilities, no ensuite on the campsite.
No.
So I remember going to the campsite toilets and I was quite young. I think you and Emmeline came with me to the toilets because I was younger and couldn't go on my own. I went into the toilet and I did need a number 2. So I went for a number 2. And anyway, the chain wouldn't flush properly and the water just was rising and rising and rising from the toilet. And my poo just came over the toilet onto the floor, but the water kept coming. So it didn't just stay in the cubicle, it went under the cubicle. This big wave, tsunami of pooey water just swishing and swashing down the public toilets with people in there, other happy campers, wondering where this big poo log was coming from. And obviously I was still in the cubicle and I could hear other people out there and I was just so scared and embarrassed and ashamed to leave that cubicle, and I was there for a good 20 minutes waiting for people to go.
I do remember that very, very well. But I do have a bit of a confession to make because earlier on, I think I got mud on my shoes. So
Oh,
slightly before you went in there, I had put some paper towels in the toilet. So I'm
so
thinking it may have been them that blocked up the toilet. But
it obviously was. So all these years, I was thinking it was my poo, the shame of my poo floating down the public toilets for all to see. And all along, it could have been prevented.
it
I
could have,
could have just
yeah.
flushed it away easily if you hadn't put the kitchen towel down the toilet.
Just like to take this I'd like to take this opportunity to apologize because it may
Mm.
or may not have been
No, it
all the
was.
paper towels that I'd put in there before you went in. It could have been
It.
a mixture of both.
I think it was
Who
the
knows?
kitchen towel because I was a young child. My poo wasn't that big.
Yeah, that's true. But it's quite a normal sister thing to irritate each other a little bit. I do remember having a bit of a prank war going on. I still remember, because I got in big trouble about this, putting curry powder in your school bag to get you back for something.
Yes, I do
And
remember that.
the smell wouldn't come out for ages, and it was your new school bag, so mum went mental, about that, and I do feel guilty to this day, and I think it was your new head bag, and I
It was
thought,
my head bag. I remember that clearly, and I remember the stink just lingering, and everyone was like, "What's that smell? Have you got BO, Laura?" I was like, "No, it's my bag. It's not
but
my
the thing is,
armpits."
you did used to steal things from my room all the time, and you'd push me to the limit. My hairbrushes, but the worst thing you did, if I came and said, "Laura, give me back my hairbrush," you'd deny it. Instead of just handing it back, you would hide it somewhere. And knickers, that was another thing. Tops, they'd all get lost in your bedroom, so you pushed me to it. But do you remember what you did to get me back for the curry powder?
I don't remember actually. No, go on, enlighten me.
So you got a little sandwich bag and you
Mm.
filled it with Branston pickle and you put it in my bed.
Oh,
Now
oh yes,
I think you were hoping that the bag of pickle would burst somehow when I got in.
yeah. Did it not?
No, I actually thought, 'cause it was brown, I thought you'd pooed in a bag at first, and I went and showed mum and dad, and we realised it was just pickle. But I do remember you getting in trouble for wasting pickle. So, not for putting it in my bed, but for wasting food,
Wasting good pickle. Yeah.
and Branston as well, that was the good stuff. Um,
Yeah, no, no,
yeah.
Tesco own. No, exactly.
Moving on from school now, as you got a bit
Okay.
older, are there any cringes you want to get off your chest? Because, that's what this podcast is all about, unleashing them, and then they lose their power over us, you see.
I've got many that I probably can't say, but there is
Yeah.
one which, and I think all girls and women can relate to periods. You know, we all have to put up with it, and it's not great. Probably one of my most cringiest, embarrassing moments was in Italy, because I did some work out in Italy with where I met my husband and a couple of my very good friends, and we were out touring the country, doing shows to teach English through drama. And obviously, it was very hot. It was my first time abroad at the tender age of 21, because we didn't go on any abroad holidays, as you know, just the camping trips
No.
where I left poos in the toilet. And yeah, so this one particular day, we went to the beach, and I remember feeling a bit sweaty, but I thought, oh, it's just because of you know, it's very hot in Italy. But I remember feeling a little bit sweaty in the nether regions, and I was wearing a white skirt. And anyway, we got to the beach bar, and I was about to sit down, and my friend Pippa just nudged me and was like, Laura, Laura, you might want to go to the toilet. And I looked at my totally white skirt, and it was just red. So very cringy, very embarrassing. I was sat in this bar with all these Italians, and I had a massive wet red patch on my white skirt. But this is where women support women. My friend said, "Don't worry, sit down." And she got a sarong that she had in her bag and said, "Just put this around you and go to the toilet." And she gave me some supplies and sort yourself out and then come back. So, yeah, so that's what I did. But I remember feeling just like this burning sensation in my face, like my cheeks were just feeling like you were going bright red. You know, that feeling when you can feel your whole
Yeah.
face is about to explode because it's so red. But yeah, I think that was a very cringy moment that I've never told anyone. And I'd like to release it because I feel that it will help young girls on their journey into womanhood.
Yeah, I think when you're younger and you haven't started yet, there's always that fear that you're gonna start your period and,
Yeah.
at any moment,
See.
and we weren't prepared for it. Like, with my eldest daughter, I remember when she started big school, I got her a little period pack, with the
Yeah.
period knickers in there, all sorts of
Yeah.
things in this little bag. If we started at school, we just had to shove a load of tissue in there, didn't we? Remember a big bulk of
We
tissue?
did.
No parents buying us little
No,
period packs.
I remember reading through my diaries. It jogged a memory of when I started my period. And, I was actually quite excited. And then I soon realised that actually having a period is pretty rubbish. But do you remember you and our cousin Emmeline, you had a little period party for me? Do you remember this?
Yes, I do, because I think all your friends had started, which is probably why initially you thought this is quite exciting. And we were always saying, "Oh, have you started your period yet?" But I don't remember what we did for it.
I think you gave me a load of sanitary towels, I believe.
Of course.
I think we had some like cake and some Coca-Cola and had a bit of a celebration basically. Oh,
I
and you gave me some top tips. Your top tip, and I've never forgotten this, is if
Dread-
you've forgotten your sanitary towels at school, then you mentioned it earlier, get a load of tissue and stuff it down your knickers and you'll be fine. Yeah,
you
bundle up loads of tissue.
bundle it up. And how about now? Do you have a lot of cringes as a grown up?
Yeah, I think being, perimenopausal, I do tend to forget things and forget words, simple words. And I've probably embarrassed my eldest daughter a few times with just completely forgetting what I'm trying to say. But yeah, we were in the shop a couple of weeks ago and we bumped into a couple of her friends. And Violet said hello to them. And I was like, oh, hi, girls. Oh, what you up to? And they told me they were having a sleepover together and they were staying in the garden in a tent. And I was like, oh, lovely. And then one of her friends says, what are you here for? What are you guys getting? And I was like, oh, I'm getting 4 big juicy lemons for some reason. And Violet just looked at me like, why did you say it like that? That was really weird. And then as we went to leave, I turned around and I said to the 2 girls, oh, bye, girls, and enjoy your tent experience. And they just looked at me like I was mad. And Violet looked at me like, what did you say? And as I walked off, I was like, oh, I'm really sorry, Violet. I just couldn't remember the word for, what is it? Camping? Mum, camping? I was like, oh, yes. I was trying to say, enjoy your camping trip or whatever. But instead, it came out as, enjoy your tent experience. So, yeah, I feel like it was more of a cringe moment for Violet than for me.
Yeah, no, she did delight in telling me about that a couple of weeks ago. We just like to sit around and talk about how dorky you are sometimes, and that did come up. I think as an adult, you get less embarrassed, really, especially because obviously you're an actress, you're used to being on stage doing silly things anyway. So, would you
Yeah,
say that's helped you embrace your cringe?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still get embarrassed of things. And I'm like, I get quite nervous actually when I'm doing things as myself, like this, doing this podcast. This for me is quite cringy, quite
Mm.
nerve-wracking because I'm being myself. If I was to do this in character, then I would feel a lot more calm. But yeah, I feel like if I could just be in character for my whole life, then I probably wouldn't feel as embarrassed of things, which is strange.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should be Banksy the turtle just on a daily
Yeah,
basis. Put
I
on that
might be.
persona. Okay, so before we go, is there anything else you want to unleash? Any other diary entries that are particularly cringy?
Well, okay, yeah. I mean, I did have a little rebellious side when I was at school. I was a bit of a class clown, so I'd just do things for a laugh. I wouldn't do things that were mean. But yeah, this one diary entry that obviously at the time I thought I was a proper rebel, but it just makes me sound a bit of a dork, if I'm honest. So this is embarrassing, but I will release the cringe. Yo, diary, how are you, babe? I hate Emily. She's a bugging cow. But enough of that. Sorry, sis. Today, I forgot my sanitary towels, so shame, had to borrow some. And then I got knackered in period 9. I got sent out the classroom and was playing outside the door with the light switch. I was turning it off and on with my head. It was really sneaky trick because people see the light go on and off but don't think it's me because my hands are by my side. Sneaky, eh? There you
Oh my
go.
God.
Rebel
Well,
without a
you're
cause.
such a rebel.
No one knew. No one
You
knew.
must have
It was my
thought you
head.
were hilarious.
I know, right?
Did you get caught or not? Or were you
No,
so
I didn't.
crafty? They just thought
Didn't. I
there's
was
something wrong with the
so
light
sly. They
all that
did. They just
time.
thought it was, yeah, exactly.
Very good.
Crafty. I know.
Um,
Crafty Clark.
I don't think you should burn these diaries. I think you should keep them and publish them, actually, because I do think they're quite funny.
Mm,
Have you read
yeah.
them to your teenager?
I've read bits of them. I can't really read all of them because you have to censor them. Some of the things aren't appropriate. But I have read that one, and yeah, she did think I was a total dork, basically.
The thing is, I think your own kid's going to think you're a dog no matter what you do. So we might as well go full cringe and lean into it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, absolutely. Or put your head into it, as I did.
wow, yeah. Good one. So how do you feel now you've unleashed all this cringe?
I'm not sure I feel any better. I think I'm still going to burn the diaries. I'm sorry, sis.
Oh,
No.
well,
It's seriously. Yeah, of course. I feel good. You've got to release your cringe. I am cringy. We all are.
now normally we do a bit of advice for people that have written in with their cringes, but today I was wondering what advice would you give tweens about embracing their cringe?
I would say just be yourself, basically. Just go be your cringiest self. Who cares what people think at the end of the day?
I was going to say, it definitely worked for you because you had loads of friends at school, didn't you? Whereas I wasn't popular at all. Laura was, and she was in with all the cool kids as well. So
I,
I
I
think the reason you're popular is because you were just very nice to everyone. You were, and I think because you embraced your cringe, you sort of encouraged others to be themselves too.
Yeah, maybe. Because I did feel different to other people because I was dyslexic. Well, I still am dyslexic. So I always felt quite thick at secondary school because a lot of my friends were a lot cleverer than me, and they were in higher sets and I was always in the bottom set for everything. So I think because I felt quite stupid as a person, which was, quite sad, really. I felt like I had to be a bit silly and a bit of a class clown and switch lights on and off with my head. And, that did, because I made people laugh, I suppose that made me popular. And I also felt like I would just be friends with everyone, even if they
Mm.
weren't really my people. Like I'd be friends with the bullies, the friends with the dorks, the friends with the smokers, the friends with all of them. I'd be friends with everyone. And that's my advice to any person starting secondary school. Just try your best to just get on with everyone and you'll be fine and make
Yeah,
people
that's
laugh.
exactly good advice. And if there's a light switch outside a classroom, get your head on that. And
Yeah,
also, maybe don't snog in corridors.
definitely don't snog in corridors. Yeah,
What
definitely.
have
No.
you got coming up at the moment, Laura? Is there anything you want to tell us about? What are you working on right now?
Well, we have got Panto season coming up for Big Bubble Theatre Company um, in December. So I'll be working on writing Treasure Island, the pantomime.
Exciting. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I have been nagging you to get me on, but yeah, I didn't quite realise how embarrassing it might be. But thank you so much for having me. I have really enjoyed it, and I've released the cringe, which is always a good thing.
Okay, bye. But one thing I just want to clear up before we finish is that actually I am the Queen of Coolness. Thanks again to Laura for joining me in the club today. Don't forget, if you want to book one of her amazing pantomimes or workshops that she does in schools, then do get in touch with her at bigbubbletheatre.com or find her on Instagram or Facebook. If you haven't had enough cringe for one day, then check out my new book for tweens, Cringe Club, available at bookshops, Amazon, all those kind of places. See you next time.